Corner. I'm Cash. Today we have episode 104, and it's a little bit of an interesting day here in combat sports. It's been a very busy week, very crazy week, lots of news, 2 huge events this weekend, and we were going to have a third huge event tonight, that being Jake Paul, Gervonta Tank Davis. It was meant to be happening like right now, and obviously that didn't end up happening, and it just feels so weird because obviously combat sports, nobody's booked on tonight. There's no fight on this Friday, November 14th night, because nobody wanted to compete with Jake versus Tank. And it's just so weird to think about. Like, man, tonight was supposed to be a very, very big night for boxing, good or bad. And it's no longer happening. Now, we are going to talk a little bit later on about Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul, as it seems that fight is no longer just a talking point, but now apparently almost a done deal. Mike Coppinger reporting it is a done deal for December 19th in Miami. December 19th in Miami is a date we've heard for a while, ever since the Tank fight was in jeopardy. That was one of the dates the MVP was looking at for, their next event. We can just talk about it now. My thoughts on it, I think that obviously this is a huge mismatch. I can't believe that Jake Paul is taking this fight. I mean, just to think that he was going to go from fighting a lightweight around 135 pounds to go in to fight Anthony Joshua, who's 255, 260. He's quite literally twice the size of Gervonta Davis, a foot taller. And this is not someone who's, kind of washed. He's an absolute unit. He's very powerful, and he was challenging for a world championship last year, and he's the one who has the size advantage over Jake Paul. Jake Paul has absolutely no way to win this fight. No way. It's just impossible. And I can't believe that he's decided to take it. I mean, you have to respect it, and you have to now see that I don't think that Jake Paul has been ducking all these guys. I think that Jake Paul has just been looking for what makes the most sense and what makes him the most money, and he wasn't fighting Tank because he's a lot smaller. Fighting Tank because Tank's a big name. Tank can't fight? Okay, let me fight AJ. You're not going to beat AJ. There's no way. So, I mean, I honestly can't even believe that this is actually maybe going to happen. Again, it's not a done deal yet. Eddie Hearn saying that it's far from a done deal. Maybe he's just talking. If it is a done deal, I expect we'll get an announcement in the next 3 days because, like I said, this event apparently is going to be December 19th. They got to start the promotion for it. But, I mean, it's just crazy to think like that. That jump from fighting Tank to AJ is just, it doesn't even make sense. So, again, everybody's got to give their props to Jake. As for everyone who's kind of against AJ taking this fight for his legacy and such, it doesn't really matter. AJ will be in an important fight next year. He needs to get his, they were going to put him in an 8-rounder against a no-name. I would much prefer him fight Jake Paul in a huge event and him to knock out Jake Paul than to watch him fight, Joe Schmo in Ghana. No interest in that at all. You put him against Jake Paul in front of millions of people on Netflix and, you have a crazy event, let's do it, absolutely. So I'm not opposed to this at all. I hope it happens, and it's just what a world we live in. But let's talk about the fights we have this weekend. 2 big events, like I talked about, Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn 2, and UFC 322. Let's start with the former. Eubank Benn, number 1, or I guess number 3, in the grand scheme of things. But Eubank Jr. versus Benn, number 1, was my fight of the year. It still is. I don't think it's been topped. And it's not only because of the fight itself, but I think that was also the best build-up of the year, the best fight week of the year, the best walkouts of the year. I mean, it was unbelievable how much tension there was in that stadium when they walked out, when Chris Eubank Sr. arrived, and then their walkouts, and then the fight. I mean, you could just see how important that night was to both of them, and neither man wanted to lose. And, I mean, you see for Conor specifically how emotional he was in that fight, and he's an emotional fighter, and that kind of led to his detriment in the match. He was already the much less experienced and much smaller guy in the ring. You throw into that the fact that he was just kind of, trying to take Eubank's head off. A lot of people are talking about ways for Conor Benn to win this fight, one of which he's gotten that experience under his belt now. He's gone the 12 hard rounds with Eubank. He's fought in front of 70,000 people. He's been on under the bright lights, and he's a lot bigger. We're seeing that Benn both before the ceremonial weigh-in and at the actual ceremonial weigh-in, he's weighing in heavier than Eubank is. Obviously, Eubank is still going to be bigger, and Eubank's still, cutting weight under more pressure than Benn is. But Conor Benn is definitely in a better position both weight-wise, physically-wise, and mentally. You can tell he's much more relaxed this camp. And I think that's honestly part of the reason why this build-up hasn't been as fun is because, and in this fight week, it's kind of gone under the radar a bit, is just because the first time all eyes were on it. You're clashing with UFC, and you're not even clashing with Jake Paul anymore. But, I mean, the first fight, there was so much more hate and so much more like trash talk where Conor Benn is not necessarily going to engage with Eubank as much anymore because, he knows that Eubank did win the first fight. And I think there's a mutual respect there. I really do think there is. It was fun to have Senior at the press conference. I mean, them facing off together, the fathers and the sons, was just theater. Everything about these two families is just absolute theater. I love it. And I cannot wait for tomorrow. As for my official prediction, I have to pick Eubank again, but I think that Conor Benn is a much more winnable fight here. I don't think he's going to stop him or anything. I just think that Conor Benn needs to start slower and take his time and warm up into the fight, not throw it out. Because when he got to those last 4 rounds, Conor Benn had nothing left. He was just fighting off pure heart. He had nothing left because he'd left everything in the early rounds. He needs to start slow, let Eubank work himself out. I mean, Eubank has had a lot of tougher nights in the ring, and that weight cut is still there. It's still affecting him. So if Conor Benn can just have a smarter game plan, stay focused on it, it's a much more winnable fight. That being said, I still think Eubank is a better fighter and a better boxer, and I think that he's just too experienced. So I'm still going to pick Eubank to win the decision. I think it may be closer than last time. I don't think anybody gets stopped either, but I think Eubank wins another decision. I don't know why. I just feel like there may be some controversy this time. I don't know. I'm getting that sense. Hopefully not. As for the rest of the card, I actually think it's pretty solid. Jack Catterall, Ekau Esserman is an incredible fight. Just a true boxer versus fighter kind of fight. Jack Catterall, one of the most consistently boring fighters right now. Ekau Esserman, one of the most consistently exciting fighters. Obviously coming off a career best win over Josh Taylor. Catterall still on the comeback from that Barboza defeat. I think that this is a perfect fight for both guys right now. I think they're both probably top 15 in the welterweight division. They're waiting to crack into that top 10. The winner of this does. And it's a really, really important fight for both. As for who I think is going to win, I'm going to have to pick Catterall. I think it'll be close at times, but I do think that Catterall's style, with just being able to counterpunch and read guys, and the fact he's training with Bozy Ennis, he's going to have a little bit more aggression to him. I think that he'll be able to get down to Esserman. The thing about Esserman is he does win most of his fights, but all of his fights are really close. They're all, just barely winning. So, I think that he definitely leaves room to lose rounds, whereas Catterall, I think, is going to really capitalize off that. It's definitely going the distance, but I have Catterall winning. Before that, we have Adam Azim, Kurt Scobie. Fight I'm actually looking forward to a good bit. I think that Kurt Scobie has done a fantastic job marketing and branding himself this week. He's a great trash talker, and he brought it to Azim when nobody else has ever really challenged Azim like that. I do still think Azim beats him. In fact, I think there's a very solid chance Azim stops him. Kurt Scobie has been stopped before, and it was due to cardio. I think that was in the 7th round. This fight tomorrow is scheduled for 12. There's no way he's going to make it 12 rounds. Maybe he is. Maybe he's gotten better. But I think Adam Azim is a very, very good fighter, and he's at a much higher level than Kurt Scobie is. Scobie's decent, but he's not on Azim's level. So I'm going to pick Azim, honestly, maybe by stoppage. You have Richard Riakporhe in his second fight in the heavyweight division against Tommy Welch. I expect Riakporhe to win this one, probably inside the distance. He's a big puncher. He's huge at heavyweight now. Tommy Welch has never fought even in a 10-rounder before, never fought anyone of note. The only thing he's bringing is an undefeated record for Riakporhe to snatch. I think Riakporhe wins this fight. That's pretty much all I have to say. And then we also will have, of course, Sam Gilley versus Ishmael Davis, which, to be honest, is probably the most competitive fight on the card. It's the hardest one to pick. British and Commonwealth Super Welterweight Championship, Sam Gilley, Ishmael Davis, both kind of a must-win. Sam Gilley hasn't had the most active year, and he had a draw in his last fight, which was definitely not a good look. As for Ishmael Davis, I mean, he had 3 losses in a row. Now, all those have asterisks, right? The Sergey Boachuk and the Josh Kelly, both of those stepping in on short notice to save the show, and those are both world-level guys. Keeman Jarko, very, very close fight. That really could have gone either way. I do think Jarko narrowly won it, probably 55 to 45% in my head. So I'm not mad at that one, but again, it's a close fight in 2 fights where he just stepped up to world level too early. And I mean, he gave good accounts of himself, especially in the Josh Kelly fight. Won some rounds towards the end. So, I don't know. I think Ishmael Davis definitely needs the win more. We'll see if he can get it. I'm going to sit on the fence on this one, and we're just going to see what happens tomorrow, but I expect it'll be a good fight. Now, let's hop over to New York City, UFC 322, and what a card they put together. This may be the best card of the year. I mean, main event and co-main event both have pound-for-pound superstars in them with two championships, both of which are champ versus champ. I mean, both Islam Makhachev and Zhang Weili are moving up in weight. Neither of them lost their belt in their last fight. They're both, going for double champ status. This is a very, very good doubleheader, and I feel like the co-main has gone way under the radar, and it doesn't deserve that because it's the best fight to be made in women's MMA. Number 1 versus number 2, pound for pound. Look, this is Valentina Shevchenko's weight class. I'm going to pick Zhang Weili to win this fight because I think Zhang Weili is number 1 pound for pound. I think that she is a superstar. I think she is really, really tough and has just been on an incredible run. Shevchenko did not impress me much in her last fight with Manon 4-0. I thought that was really close. I thought she could have lost the decision. So I think that Zhang Weili will be able to do that. I don't think she'll finish her, but I'm going to pick her by decision. Again, we're just going to have to see how it goes. It is the best fight to be made in women's MMA. I'm so glad they made it. I just hate that it's not getting the recognition it deserves. But on to the main event, Islam Makhachev going for double champ status against JDM. JDM has gotten a lot of support in this fight. A lot of people are giving him a really good chance. They're saying his boxing's good. He's been on a terrific win streak. Islam's coming up in weight. He's going to be the smaller guy. And I just have to say one thing, and that is that I think that Islam Makhachev is one win away from beating or from tying Anderson Silva's win record. I think that he's going to break that record. I think that Islam Makhachev will win this fight. I'm not going to say how. I think it'll be competitive at times, but I think that people are forgetting just how good Islam is. Not to say JDM's not good, but I don't think that we were really talking about JDM the way that people are talking about him now before the Bilal fight. With the Bilal fight, it was like, oh, he's getting the next title shot? Okay. And now, and then nobody really complained. But, I mean, Islam, he's just, dude, he's just a monster. And he's not that much smaller than JDM. I mean, if you just look at the pound-for-pound rankings, Islam's 1 or 2? I think he's 2 now with Ilya at 1. And then JDM is I think 8 or so. I don't know. I mean, JDM's really good, and he beats most of the welterweights probably, but I just think that Islam is that guy, and I think that I'm honestly quite surprised at how many people have this as close as it is. I mean, just looking at the odds, Islam is the favorite, minus 285, which is not bad for a UFC fight. A lot of the odds are much closer, but I mean, I feel like Islam should be a wider favorite than that. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm expecting a great fight tomorrow. Maybe JDM can win this fight. I think it's possible for him. I'm just pretty confident that Islam gets the win and becomes 2 division champion in the UFC. With that happening, I don't know. I feel like if he beats JDM, is there really anybody else in the division that can beat him? I don't know if there is. I kind of just want to see him fight Ilya lightweight, but we'll see what happens. Speaking of who's going to get the next title shot, Sean Brady, Michael Morales. It has been confirmed by Dana White that the winner of this will be getting the next welterweight title shot. At least he said that. Somebody asked him, is this number one contender? He said, yeah, sure. I mean, Sean Brady's number 2. He deserves that title shot. The only one who deserves it more is Shavkat, but Shavkat, I think, has lost that opportunity with being so inactive. I think he's going to have to re-earn that one, kind of like how Arman Tsarukyan is going to have to. I am picking Sean Brady to win this fight. I think it's going to be close. I think that Michael Morales is a very explosive fighter, but Sean Brady's just been really good and consistent these last few fights. The Leon Edwards win was fantastic. I think Brady takes this one. And he may get to fight the winner of Islam JDM next, which is crazy. Another fantastic fight in the welterweight division, Leon Edwards, Carlos Praches. A lot of people not giving Leon Edwards his fair shake. I think this is going to be a very competitive fight. I almost want to pick Leon. It's just a question of, is Leon Edwards, does he still have it? And if he still has it, he should be able to beat Carlos Praches. Carlos Praches is very fun. He's very explosive, but I don't know if he's at the same caliber that Leon Edwards was in 2023, So we'll just have to see who wins this one. I don't know if I want to pick anyone because it just depends on what kind of Leon Edwards we get in there tomorrow. If we get 2023 Leon Edwards, I think he beats Carlos. If we get 2025 Leon Edwards in 2024, I think he gets beaten because he hasn't shown that he still has it, and he just doesn't have this oomph, And granted, those were his last 2 losses came against wrestlers. Carlos Praches is a striker, and that's what Leon Edwards is good at. So if he can make this a striking affair, I think he can win. Maybe I'm leaning a little bit towards Leon. We'll see. but it's going to be a great fight. And then opening up the main card, thankfully, is Beneil Dariush, Benoit Saint-Denis. Great fight. I want to pick BSD because he's on a great run. I just have a feeling that Dariush is going to win this one by a kind of decision. I feel like he's done that. He did that with his last fight against Moicano. I don't know why. I just kind of see it happening. I don't want it to happen, but I don't know why. I just get that feeling that it's going to be Dariush by decision. As for the prelims, these prelims are just incredible. Bo Nickel, headlining the prelims. He's meant to be on the main card. They pushed him down. He's going to fight Rodolfo Vieira's return to the UFC after the loss to RDR. I think Bo Nickel wins this fight. I think he looks pretty decent in it, and we'll get into another potentially ranked opportunity next. That RDR loss, it aged well, and then it didn't age well. So we'll have to see what he comes up with next in this fight. I think Bo Nickel wins probably by submission or something. He's such a good wrestler. I just hope it's not boring. Roman Kopylov versus Gregory Rodriguez. RoboCop is back. This is a fantastic fight. It's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know who wins it. It could go either way. I kind of want to pick RoboCop just because I love him. He had a great knockout last time out. So let's just see if he can get the win. Aaron Blanchfield, Tracy Cortez. Really actually fun fight, a flyweight, I think. I'm looking forward to that one a lot. You've also got Malcolm Wellmaker, my boy from Atlanta, coming against Ethan Ewing. Ewing, pretty close odds here. Wellmaker's only a minus 155 favorite. I don't care. Malcolm Wellmaker is coming for the knockout. The guy is an absolute sicko. He's a menace. I love he's on this good of a position on this big a card. Going to get to be seen by that many people. I think he wins that one inside the distance, and I think he looks good doing it. He's going to bring a UFC belt back to Atlanta. I'm kidding. We'll see, but maybe. Other than that, you got Kyle Daukaus versus Gerald Mearshart. Good fight there. Pat Sabatini versus Shepe Mariscal. Angela Hill versus Fatima Klein. That could be okay. We'll see. It's a ranked fight for strawweight. And then Baisengar, Suzakaev, Eric Mekonico. Suzakaev, a minus 1050 favorite. Probably the biggest favorite on the card. That is absurd. So we'll see which one that way goes. I can probably tell you. And then it's going to open up with Vyashelov, Borshev versus Mateus Camilo. 14-fight card tomorrow. Not bad. We'll take it. Looking forward to it. One of the best cards of the year, maybe the best, especially that just main co-main event. Really, the top 7 or 8 fights are just absolutely spectacular. It's going to be a very, very fun night at MSG. To be honest, the star of Fight Week has been John Pork. The memes have been absolutely hilarious. I think it's so funny that they all call him John Pork, and he hates it. He's becoming a superstar. People are really, really getting in with this meme, and they're putting their support behind him. He got the biggest pop ever at the press conference yesterday. His UFC debut is going to be awesome. I think Bruce Buffer should announce him as John Pork. I think he should just fully embrace it, but I've been loving that meme all week. That's been honestly the highlight of the fight week. Now let's head over to Mexico. We've got World Championship boxing there. Rafael Espinoza, it's his homecoming. He's going to be taking on Arnold Khegai. Don't love the matchup personally. I shouldn't say that. I don't love Khegai getting a title shot. He had the loss to Joey Gonzalez earlier this year. Then I think he had a win over an 8-rounder or something. Does not at all warrant him getting a shot at the best guy in the division, that being El Divino Espinoza. I don't like it. However, I actually do think their styles will clash pretty well and make for a fun fight. I think Espinoza wins it. Honestly, probably inside the distance just because he's that guy. But I think we're going to get a really fun fight tomorrow. Again, another one on the Top Rank Classics channel on Tubi and such. Could be fun. I'm a really big fan of Espinoza. I think he's one of the most exciting champions in the sport right now. And hopefully they put on a good show. On that undercard, a lot of good top-ranked fighters. Lindolfo Delgado fighting Gabriel Goyes Valenzuela in an IBF super lightweight world title eliminator. Winner of that is going to become mandatory for Richardson Hitchens. Hitchens still no fight booked after the George Kambosos win 5 months ago. I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully he can get a win soon, or a fight soon. Maybe that's against Keyshawn Davis. I don't know. Lots of good opportunities for him. He's becoming, one of the best fighters in that division. And it looks like the winner of Delgado versus Goyes could be getting that next shot. Good fight tomorrow. I'm going to pick Delgado in that one. I don't think that, again, Delgado's had a lot of robbery wins recently, but I don't know. I still think he's pretty good, and I haven't seen too much from Goyes that's really impressed me. Also on the card, Richard Torres Jr. is back. Very, very fun rising heavyweight. And as is Emiliano Vargas, his first 10-rounder against Jonathan Montrell. I don't know. And Torres is fighting Thomas Selleck. Both guys that, we'll see. They'll probably blow him over in a couple of rounds and on to bigger and better things. This is a step down for Torres specifically, but that Vianello was such a big step up. And with Top Rank not having a TV deal, I wasn't expecting them to get him into another really good heavyweight fight next. As for Emiliano Vargas, step up, I guess, but he really needs to be stepped up. I want to see him in there with a notable name, former world champion or something, because really think he's very good. So it's going to be a fight in Mexico, and then the only other event that we have this weekend, tomorrow night in California, BKFC 84, headlined by Josh Dyer versus Lorenzo Hunt 2, the rematch. Lorenzo Hunt, obviously winning the first fight, was one of the top guys in BKFC, hasn't fought in about a year and a half, now looking to reclaim his crown at light heavyweight, so dropping down a little bit in weight. I like it. I think Lorenzo Hunt's really good. I want to pick him to win this fight. He's just been so inactive, but he was one of the faces of this promotion just a year and a half ago. So I'm going to pick Lorenzo Hunt to get it. We'll see. I think it's going to be a really fun fight. I think it's a 10-11 fight card. Co-main event is Drew Stuve versus Zeb Vincent. Honestly, I thought this card was stronger than it was. Looking at it, there's some recognizable names, but I don't know. I could use a little bit more to really excite the fans and such. I just want more big names fighting on BKFC, but this is still a good event. Really great main event. Decent card. Should be a lot of fun. Let's talk about some other news that we've had, because we've got plenty to talk about. Starting off with one of the most absurd news stories which was not expecting at all. Joseph Parker today was found or was it yesterday? I think it was this morning. It turns out that he had an adverse finding on the morning of his fight with Fabio Wardley, or at least the day, for not a PED but cocaine. And this is just disappointing for a number of reasons. One, because I really was not expecting there's a lot of fighters you could expect to be on cocaine. Joseph Parker's not one of them. I was just really surprised to hear that. And two, just disappointing because you look at how important that fight was and how he was in the biggest fight in the division at the time. He was going to get the next shot at Usyk if he won that. And cocaine is not something that lingers in the system for a very long time, which means he did it within around 48 hours of that test happening, which means he was doing cocaine max 2.5 days before he fought Fabio Wardley. What are you doing? Now, either that's him just doing something crazy, thinking that maybe this will help me, or that's something where he's doing cocaine a lot more than we realize, and it's just kind of a normal thing for him. It doesn't really affect him that much. He has a high tolerance for it. Maybe he's addicted. I don't want to say that. I don't want to point any accusations. But I'm just saying, maybe this is not – maybe he's been able to keep it low-key and he's always been doing this and then he just cut it too short. Obviously, a lot of fighters recreationally use drugs and you can still get banned for them. He can still probably get banned for this. We'll just see how the BBBFC and UCAD decide to handle it. But – I don't know, man. It's just really, really, really odd, really disappointing, surprising. I just don't get at all why he would do this. And it's definitely hurt his image because he's one of my favorite fighters. He still is a great guy, but I just don't understand why you would fumble your bag in a fight like that, And I wonder if that played into him losing that fight. Let's talk about Matchroom's schedule that they announced for the start of 2026, and it is absolutely loaded. 4 fantastic, they're not all fantastic fights, but 4 big fights headlining through January and February. January 24th in Las Vegas, Raymond Murataya defends his IBF lightweight championship against Andy Cruz. That is a wonderful, wonderful lightweight championship. Damn near 50-50. Wouldn't quite say that. I do think Andy Cruz wins the fight, but again, he's never really been tested with someone like Murataya before. I think it's a brilliant, brilliant fight. I love that Matchroom's getting a lot of top-ranked fighters on their cards and putting them in these 50-50 fights. We'll talk about one later on. And then January 31st, 1 week later, they're in Newcastle for Bakram Murtazaliev, finally getting another defense of his IBF Super Welterweight Championship. He's going to be fighting Josh Kelly, who was announced that he is now re-signed with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing. Looks like he's still somewhat connected to Wasserman, but they're no longer his promoter. They couldn't really get him the fights he needs to get, and as soon as he goes to Matchroom, gets the world title shot locked in. Good for them to bring the world title shot to Newcastle. Apparently, it's the first one there in over 10 years, first world title fight. I do think Bakram wins. I think he probably wins inside the distance. I think he's the boogeyman. I think he's a monster. The only thing I'm worried about is his inactivity. Granted, Josh Kelly's not been very active either, so We'll see which one that way goes. I think we all kind of know where it's going to lean, but hey, you know what? It could be fun. Josh Kelly's a pretty fun fighter. Maybe he'll bring it to Bakram. February 21st in Nottingham will be Lee Wood, Josh Warrington too. A lot of people hating on this fight because, yeah, they're both towards the end of the road. Loser of this fight probably needs to retire. Maybe even winner does. I think Josh Warrington particularly needs to retire. He hasn't looked good in a fight in a while. As for Lee Wood, I mean, it was in 2023, he was considered one of, if not the best featherweight at the time. Then doesn't do anything in 2024. 2025 fights Anthony Makhachev, who's a monster, and gets stopped, and beaten. But puts up a good effort for a lot of that fight. And now people are saying, oh, I just retired. I don't have any interest anymore. I'm like, I still have interest. I mean, these two put on a great fight. Warrington was up in that fight before he got knocked out. Sure, let's do the rematch. One last big show for both guys. I'd be fine if they both retired after. I said, Wood, Warrington, and Conlon, I need one of them to all be fighting each other next, and it's going to be Wood and Warrington on a Matchroom show. Let's do it. 1 week after that, they will be in Arizona for Emmanuel Navarrete, Eduardo Nunes, Vaquero versus Sugar. They're calling it the next King of Mexico. This is one of the best fights, honestly, that you can make just in terms of viewing. Like, it is going to be all out, 12 rounds of Mexican war, pure carnage. I can't wait. WBO IBF Super Featherweight Unification Championship. Just a phenomenal, phenomenal fight. I'm so happy they got that one done. Obviously, Vaquero was at Sugar Nunes' last fight. They faced off, and I was like, oh, this would be incredible. I don't know if we see it, though. They got it done. It's going to be happening next. Looks like Charlie Suarez did agree to the step-aside deal, which I'm okay with. But this is just a phenomenal fight. I love that they're getting Sugar a unification so quickly, and that Navarrete's finally going for unification, because he's a guy who I feel like has never really gone for unifications when he's held belts for so long. So, yeah, really, really good matchup there, and a great, great start to the year. And I just want to point out, I just put out a tweet about this, Matchroom really does have an unrivaled schedule. And you kind of have to say, some people question their matchmaking and the strength of their cards and their main events, but when you look at who's putting on shows, I tallied it up today. You take the top promotions, how many events they have announced and upcoming. Ring Magazine, obviously a little bit of a different entity. They have 3, okay, that are announced, including tomorrow's event. PBC has 1. Queensberry has 1. Boxer has 2. Golden Boy has 0. Top Rank has 2. Including tomorrow's event, which is kind of a Zamfir co-pro, and then the Puerto Rico card in January, but I think they're both top-rank events. MVP has 0. Matchroom has 9. That is a crazy difference. And granted, it's the end of the year. They haven't all started their things, but I don't see Golden Boy announcing 4 shows soon. I don't see Queensberry. Queensberry's the only one I can see announcing a slate of maybe 2 shows in that time frame. Boxer, maybe they'll do 1. PBC, maybe they'll do 1. MVP, maybe they'll do 2. It's completely unrivaled. And also the fact that that's across 4, 5 countries. Again, I don't want to glaze or anything. I'm just saying very, very strong schedule they've put together over the next few months, and a great start to 2026. And they are definitely probably the top promotion right now. I mean, nobody else is putting on as many shows as they are. And you throw in the fact that all those Ring Magazine shows, they've got fighters in the main events for a lot of them and filled out on the undercards. Just saying. What else? Oh, last night there was another Eye of the Tiger card. We can talk about it now. Stephen Butler, Stefan Fangio. I thought the main event was spectacular. Butler is one of these guys who, he can really end the fight whenever he wants. He's got a lot of power, but he's going to make it a fun fight, and he'll be down on the cards if he needs to. He was up on the cards in this one for sure. Had a few knockdowns, but the momentum was not really with him in that second half of the fight, and then he stopped Fangio with a great shot in the 9th round and closed the book. Really, really fun main event. Also on the card, you had John Arrobio stopping Zolazani and on Jenny in the 2nd round. Really, really good performance from him in a step up. I think he's a great prospect, one of the best in the sport. He's going to great places very fast. Luis Santana escaping with a unanimous decision, winning against Pedro Manuel Gomez. I scored it a draw. It could have gone to Gomez very well. One judge had a 98-92 Santana, which is just absurd. He won max 5 rounds of that fight. Probably 4. Yeah, it's just absurd. And then Moreno Fandero, he definitely won the fight, but didn't look great overall. I only had him winning 96-94. Usually knocks everyone out in spectacular fashion. Bit of an off night for him. Again, a big step up, but just not the best performance. But you know what? Eye of the Tiger, really fun shows. They got a great slate of prospects. Not everyone's best night, but we go again. Moving on from that, speaking of Eye of the Tiger, it was reported that Osleis Iglesias versus Bruno Soras is in negotiations for January 31st. Now, at first I thought, okay, this could go on the Shakur Stevenson Teofimo Lopez undercard that we're hearing is also on January 31st. Going to be a very busy day for boxing. And then I remembered that Christian and Billy Jaime Munguia is a fight that's been being negotiated to take place early next year. I wonder if they're doing a Canada big card, Eye of the Tigers, with Billy versus Munguia in the main event, and then co-main event being Iglesias versus Soras. I don't know, but either way, Iglesias-Soras is a fantastic fight. It's great next shot for Iglesias. He needs to stay active. He's fighting guys in the top 10, top 15, but he'll still beat them. And then Billy Munguia is even better of a fight. I love it. I really, really love it. I think Iglesias is one of the top guys in that division. He's waiting for his title shot any day now. We'll see if he gets it. But, yeah, really excited to hear that he's getting another fight soon. We heard today that the WBO Interim Light Heavyweight Championship purse bids for Callum Smith and David Morrell have been ordered. They were ordered to fight. No negotiations really took place. Or they didn't reach it in time. So it's now going to go to purse bids. I don't really know who wins it. It's going to be between Matchroom and PBC. Either way, this fight's going to end up on a decent place. I would like to see it on a Riyadh season show maybe. Maybe that goes on the Shakur Teofimo undercard. I don't know. But, hey, this fight is a banger. 2 top 10 guys. Callum Smith, again, he needs to stay active. He hasn't fought in almost a year by the time this fight rolls around. But it's going to be a really, really good matchup. David Morrell needs the win. He really needs the win because he did not look good against Imam Kataev. I thought he had a better performance against Benavidez, if I'm being honest. I thought that he lost to Kataev badly and got dropped in that fight. So he really needs to get back on the winning track, truly. So I think it's a really good matchup, and I just hope it gets made and no BS happens. It was announced that January 16th, obviously Nikita Tszyu versus Michael Zarafa, which has now been confirmed for Brisbane, Australia. They did a really cool face-off on the water, on the river. I thought that looked sick. But we got the undercard, and mainly on it is Liam Paro, Paddy Donovan. So, of course, this fight was just ordered as an IBF welterweight world title eliminator. I mean, Paddy Donovan getting another straight shot, had the loss to Crocker by disqualification, with the asterisk next to it in the eliminator earlier this year. Then he gets another shot at Crocker in that rematch for the world title, in which he loses, but it's very controversial that he lost it. So the IBF is immediately giving him another opportunity. I think Donovan's good. I think Donovan is better than Crocker, even though he has 2 losses to him. But I think Liam Paro beats Paddy Donovan, and I think if Liam Paro goes on to fight Lewis Crocker, he beats Lewis Crocker as well. I think Liam Paro's quite decent and a very good fighter. Not to say that Crocker and Donovan aren't good fighters, but I think he's a little bit better than them. But hey, you know what? This is a really good card from No Limit. I'm surprised that Liam Paro is getting thrown in this fight, which is one of the best fights No Limit could put on, is going to be co-main event. That shows the depth of this card in the main event. You also have Dempsey McKean and Liam Wilson back on this fight card. Really, really solid 4-fight card right there. So I am looking forward to January 16th. I hope that because Paddy Donovan's on it, maybe Matchroom will step up and they'll get a DAZN, co-broadcast for it. I don't know how it works, but we need that because I want to be able to watch this fight No Limit. You can't really watch in the U.S., which sucks. Angelo Leo is apparently set to defend his IBF Featherweight Championship finally on February 21st on ProBox TV, so another long layoff. He's going to be fighting Lorato Dlamini, and man, this guy is really annoying me with his title run right now. Obviously, he had the ordered fight with Kameda in May after, 9 months of being champion, didn't do anything. Now it's going to be another 9 months later where he's going to fight Dlamini, who I've never heard of, when he's in featherweight, which is a really, really fun division. Again, just a very disappointing, comeback fight. Or not even a comeback. It feels like a comeback fight because he never fights. But a really disappointing title defense because if he's going to blow right through him. But hey, this is good for Pro Box to get their world champion, fighting on their card. It's going to really help go their platform. It was also confirmed that Lester Martinez is going to return in March in Southern California. Again, another great fighter Pro Box TV has. Again, every single month I feel like Pro Box TV is moving in a better direction. And they're getting bigger fights, better cards, and more consistent, big events. It looks like 2026 will continue to be a good year for the new promotion. But as for this fight, yeah, I really don't like it. I did see that apparently Angelo Leo, Rafael Espinoza, unification talks are still happening. That's what they're moving towards. I would love to see that one. I think it makes a lot of sense at featherweight. If it doesn't happen, I wouldn't be surprised either. But I hope it does. I really hope it does because it's a great, great fight. BKFC announced that Knucklemania 6 will be taking place February 7th back in Philly. That was one of their best cards. Probably their best card ever was that Knucklemania 5 in January earlier this year. Ton of fun. Eddie Alvarez versus Jeremy Stephens. I don't know who headlines it. I don't know if Mike Perry's going to be ready in time. 4-month turnaround. There's a good chance. I think he makes the perfect sense for it because it won't be Jeremy Stephens or Eddie Alvarez on that main event. I don't really know who else BKFC can put in the main event of a big card like that. So we'll see. They'll come up with something, but if it's going to be as good as it was last year, I am fully in. What else? Apparently, Mateusz Masternak is in negotiations with Vidal Riley to defend his EBU European Cruiserweight Championship. We know Vidal is still in the search or negotiations of a new promoter. We heard that Eddie Hearn could be interested in him. If Eddie Hearn picks up this fight, he picks up Vidal and this fight as a consequence, I love it. I think it's honestly a pretty good step up for Vidal. I would like to see him fight Alois for the British first, and then him go up and fight for the European Championship against Bebe Masternak. Either one is fine with me, but I think we saw Riley's on a very good level, and he needs to be in top-level fights and stay more active. Yeah. David Adelaide is going to be facing Patrick Corte on December 19th. I mean, at first I was a little bit disappointed, but then I remember that Adelaide, coming off the loss to Hergovich, probably wants to rebuild a little bit. As that was, I think, just the second loss of his career. Get a little bit back onto winning ways. And, he's going to need to look good in this one against Patrick Corte, get a good knockout win. Going to be in Nigeria. So hopefully it's a nice show. But I think Adelaide deals with Corte pretty easily. Lawrence Okolie's fighting in the main event of that card. We still don't know who he's fighting. Hopefully he's fighting someone a little bit better. Obviously Lawrence Okolie much more highly rated a heavyweight than David Adelaide is right now. So I just hope he's fighting a good opponent because, yeah, I really hope he is. Erickson Lubin says that he is moving to 160 pounds. Don't know if that's a good call. Considering the way that he got blown out by Virgil Ortiz at 154, I think I'd be more comfortable with Lubin retiring than I would be him moving up in weight. He definitely does not need to be moving up and facing even heavier hitters. He can stay at 154. But even then, I don't know, dude. He hasn't really looked that great over the last few years. And the punch resistance looks like it's completely gone with how quickly he got blown out of the water. No need to really continue, especially not moving up. Don't think it's a good idea at all. But hopefully he comes to his senses and the people around him, protect him. Salida Promotions, 2 bits of news for them. They announced December 20th in Detroit they're going to have a pretty nice card back at the Fox Theater. Kay versus Scott 2, Unified Championship. One of the better women's fights this year. I thought it was a great, great matchup. It was a draw first time around, I believe, so makes perfect sense to run it back. And then also Tony Harrison is going to be in the co-main event. They're fighting Brian Damian Chavez, as well as Bryce Taylor on this card. Not bad. I'm looking forward to it. It's back at the Fox Theater in Detroit. That should be a lot of fun. That's a really cool venue. They got some decent names on it. They also won the purse bid for Delphine Persoon versus Caroline Vare for the WBC Super Featherweight Championship. Obviously, it was just vacated by Alicia Baumgardner. Persoon and her had a no contest in 2024, so not surprising that she's still highly ranked. And Vare, I believe, she's not the interim champion, but she just won an eliminator, so she's going to get the next title shot. Pretty good matchup. I like it. Slade will put it on a card probably pretty early next year. Maybe that's on the next Clarissa Shields fight card. I don't know. But you know what? MVP is obviously number 1 with women. I think Salida is not far behind them. With Clarissa Shields and a lot of these other women's championships they're putting on, they actually invest in women's boxing a lot more than other promotions do. I mean, Queensberry doesn't at all. Neither does PBC. Top Rank barely does. Golden Boy doesn't do a whole lot with it. And Matchroom still has a decent bit of female fighters, but they used to have a lot more. And Boxer also has a decent bit. But again, a lot of their guys have been poached by, or a lot of their girls have been poached by MVP. So, I don't know. But Salida's got a lot of good fighters, and they got a lot of good title fights coming up. Lastly, speaking of women's championships, I guess, Carla Jade will be defending her Misfits championship against Taylor Starling at Misfits Mania. This is a very good step up for Carla Jade. She's held that belt for a while. Definitely kind of boring, but she's, somehow is still winning all these fights on Misfits. So, the best way to keep fighting is to keep winning. And Taylor Starling, one of the top female fighters in BKFC, very big step up. I would favor Taylor Starling in this fight. Like, it is boxing, not BKFC, and Carla Jade may be a better boxer than her at this point, but I really like that matchup. I'm surprised she's BKFC. It was usually pretty lenient, but letting Starling, who I assume will be getting a title shot pretty soon, she's going to go over to Misfits in Dubai on December 20th. Big card. More announcements for that coming soon, apparently. But yeah, it's shaping up quite nicely. That is all I've got for today's episode. Obviously, huge weekend coming up. Great fight day tomorrow. Eubank Ben 2, going to be another movie, seriously. Plus UFC 322, also going to be a movie. I cannot wait for that. And you got the top-ranked card in Mexico. Of course, Espinoza versus Khegai, and then BKFC 84. Let me know what you guys are thinking, what your predictions are. I can't wait for this. Have a good one. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the fights. Thank you so much for listening, and peace out.